Hi guys, it's David James from Business Growth Digital Marketing, and today I've got one of the most influential people that I've been able to come across in my career as an SEO and as a digital marketer. I'm very thankful for him being on the show today. Uh, you might call him like the Wizard of Oz or the Wizard of West of the West Coast of the USA. All the way from San Diego, we have the amazing Bill Slawski from SEO by the Sea. Thank you for being on the show today. Welcome aboard.
Thank you, David.
Yeah. So, like for those of you who aren't familiar with Bill, he's been one of the instrumental publishers in the industry about patents and how they affect SEO. And also, for a lot of people like myself who are interested in SEO execution, we really look into the insights that he shares on his blog through the patents and through his research to see how we can apply that to our SEO strategies. Now, there's a lot of silent followers, and I admit that I was a silent follower for years. And what he's been publishing has been nothing short of exceptional. So I'm very thankful to have him on the show today, and we're going to cover a few topics, including some of the patents that he's come across. Like, stay tuned; it's going to be an action-packed show. But just before I go into it, let me have the man himself introduce himself to you.
Thank you, David. I started doing SEO in 1996, back before the about the time that Alta Vista came out. I was working with a friend and I built a website for a couple friends for a business they started, and his sister worked at Digital Equipment Corporation. She sent us an email saying, "We just started a website you guys might find interesting."
Hmm.
And it was altavista.digital.com. So we went to it. We said, we need to be in this.
Hmm.
Let's figure out how.
Yeah.
And I spent some time, found out you had to submit sites URL by URL. So you couldn't just submit the home page and that was it.
Ooh.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, it was good to be in there. We saw Google come out 6 months or so later and said this would be good to be in too,
I
and
did
started working on that. Yeah.
like that. That's amazing because it's interesting. I interviewed another person 2 days ago who told me that he got into SEO around 1998, I think it was, and he was doing it in the Portuguese market. And he told me that back when he started, all they had to do was just send an email to the webmasters, and then they would just rank them at the top. So it's amazing to see how much things have changed.
It's sort of been fascinating watching the web grow and watching search grow as an industry. Uh, when I started reading patents, which was in 2005 or so,
Hmm.
uh, there was one that came out talking about information retrieval through historic data
Okay.
that a bunch of people wrote about. And I wrote about too for a forum I was an administrator at.
Okay.
And that sort of inspired me to start writing about patents because there's a lot to learn from them.
Yeah, that's what I found, and especially like when my industry friend introduced me to your blog, I think that's when I was able to take that next step in my SEO career and really trying to start to merge the technical aspects from what was happening and what was predicted to happen, along with the strategy that we were executing.
It's a kind of thing that gives you some insights into the assumptions that search engineers make about the web, about searchers,
Hmm.
about search.
Yes. Yeah, so it's just been like really interesting how, well, like just from my experience, how I can apply a lot of the findings or insights that like you show into the into the SEO strategy and also the wider digital marketing strategy. And that takes me on to like my next question and topic, which covers the authority topic that you were talking about on your site. Now, a lot of SEOs and people will talk about, we need authority, we need to get authority, but like, what is authority really? It'd be great to hear your thoughts.
Right. Okay. So once upon a time, Google used to say authority was the number of links that point to your website, and if they come from important sites, and they called that PageRank.
Mm-hmm.
But it's changed since then. Uh, Google sort of recognized, and people from Google have spoken out and said, okay, maybe what we've been looking at with PageRank has been more popularity.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the infamy that article in the World Weekly News, which is a news supermarket tabloid
Yeah.
that people would read while they're checking their groceries out.
Mm-hmm.
Includes a lot of information about celebrities and soap operas and movies and things like that, but it's not a really high authority source of information. It's not, say, the New York Times or the Washington Post.
Yeah.
It's the World Weekly News. It's sort of a lot of a source for rumors and gossip and so on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry, I was just. Sorry, go ahead.
If you base the web upon the number of links pointed to something, you're sort of popularizing gossip.
Yeah. That's a really good way of putting it. And I was just about to say, one of the challenges that I think we've all faced in the industry is determining what is popular versus what is credible. And
Right.
and that's a topic that's like very hot in the news at the moment. Like with people saying like what's factual news versus what's fake news.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you put it, but
And it's something Google's struggling with right now
yeah,
because they've been accused a lot of promulgating some of that fake news that we've seen come out about elections and
yeah,
a lot of when mainstream media points at Google and says it's fake news, when the president's spokesperson starts talking about things like alternative facts,
yes,
say, what are you talking about?
yeah.
What's going on there? Right. Google came out with a quality raters guide this past month, May 11th.
Okay.
And they updated some of their discussion about one of their acronyms was EAT, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Okay.
And they redefined what they meant by those terms.
Okay.
And authoritativeness is more whether or not a website is seemed authentic, seemed trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Would be the type of place you would turn to for news about something.
Yeah. And I think the other challenge as well is like what you would have seen through patents over the years is how we can merge the technical aspects of it. So all the signals from the algorithm that we do know, and actually the direction that everyone's going into from a strategic point of view. Because like another thing that keeps on coming up is we need to demonstrate value, and it's good to demonstrate value, but sometimes the actual factors in the algorithm don't support that just yet. It will in the future, but yeah, there's kind of a gap at the moment. What do you think?
Okay, so you'd mentioned I'd written recently about authority on my website, and
Yep.
The post I wrote about was about a patent that said Google will look at the top ranking search results for a query
Yep.
to see if any of those are authoritative enough.
Yeah.
If they aren't, it'll do another search
Mm.
for a revision of that original query
Yeah.
and look at the results from that search. And if there are authoritative enough results,
Mm.
it'll boost those in the rankings for the first query.
Yep. Okay.
So they're exchanging results on you for a related query,
Yeah. And that's that.
not the original term that you search for.
Yeah.
So if you're a site owner and your site's being replaced,
Hmm.
you're losing traffic.
Yeah. So that's something that's like really interesting that I think a lot of either small business owners or like people who dabble in SEO but don't really uh, dive deep into SEO, they won't be aware of that. Yeah, they might like know about the Google dance and sometimes their site appears and then all of a sudden it disappears. Uh, but yeah, like really understanding the authoritativeness, which is what you just covered, and how that's working from a technical perspective. I think that's just really interesting what you covered.
Now, that patent didn't actually tell us how Google determines how accurate a
Hmm.
website is. It sort of skipped that topic completely.
Yeah. So that's another challenge as well. Uh, yeah. So like we know that we can like create let's just say create content around a specific keyword, but the accuracy of that, like I'm just wondering how Google or like any other search engine or even users are going to be able to determine like the accuracy.
Well, that's why I keep on reading patents because often there's a follow up.
Yeah.
And there was a new one that came out this past week
Hmm.
that talked about extracting data
Yeah.
from websites. They would go through a website, find facts on the website, and information about those facts, like a subject, object,
Hmm.
uh, and create what they call triples of
Okay.
information about facts. So they would take an entity that a fact is about, and then the some attribute involving that entity, entity, and what the value of that information is. Donald Trump is a Republican.
Okay.
It's an entity, an action, and an object.
Okay.
Okay, and this patent talks about extracting facts like that and then checking up on them, seeing how often they show up in a database of documents.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So that may be what comes after PageRank, that ability to check accuracy to determine how authoritative something might be.
yeah, it's really, really interesting you said that because like, the type of strategy that I adopt,
Yeah.
it's more like a general marketing strategy because I come from a marketing background. So trying to understand how brands work, uh, trying to understand the consumer decision making process, and one of the challenges I've been trying to overcome is merging how to demonstrate value to make websites become like brands in the online space, and to demonstrate value to their target consumer audience. And one of the ways that I can just see that it works from a general marketing point of view is just by continually publishing on different sites, like whether you get links or if you don't get links.
Yeah.
It's about being in front of your core target audience. And from an SEO point of view, like there has been a gap in the market for a long time, but like that gap is closing, just like you said. Uh, so it sounds like from what you've just said that if PageRank does get replaced, then that kind of approach might be the future. What do you think?
Okay. So giving a presentation in November at PubCon, and
Yeah.
the topic of the presentation is keyword research on the SMAC web.
Yeah.
Uh, there was a patent Google came out with last year. They talked about something called context vectors.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, okay, when you have certain words, those words sometimes have different meanings based on the context they're found within.
Yes.
And an example they used was the word horse.
Yep.
Horse is an animal.
Yes.
A horse is something that you put wood on when you saw it,
Yes.
if you're a carpenter.
Yes.
A horse is something that you do vaults on and gymnastical moves if you're a gymnast.
Yes.
So a horse has multiple meanings based upon the context. They might use a knowledge base like Freebase or Wikipedia
Yes.
to understand the context in different of different words and see how many times those show up in those knowledge bases.
Yes.
And they might then say horse number 1 shows up 15 times. Horse number 2, the sawhorse, shows up 14 times. Horse number 3, the gymnast vault, shows up 20 times.
Okay.
So when we see the word horse, we can, based upon those number of appearance, we can guess probabilities of which horse might be talked about.
Yes.
Right? Out of the 45 or so times it's mentioned in different contexts, 20 of the times is the vault.
Yep.
So
okay.
that might be 83%, 85%.
Yeah. That's interesting.
No, not quite that much. Smaller number. 20 out of 40. A little bit more than half.
Yeah. And it's really interesting that you said that. Like I know with the knowledge base, there has been more brands that have tried to incorporate that in their strategy, but I still feel like it's not as much uptake as it should be. It's kind of like everyone's just stuck in a small like tunnel where they're just still focusing on either just getting links and also they might be publishing some content, but it's just a specific keyword and not looking at the broader spectrum of things.
I've built some of that into audits I do with clients.
Yeah.
So I will look up a client's name in the Google Knowledge Graph API.
Yeah.
To see if they understand that that client is an entity.
Yes.
And see what they have about them. You know, you can search for something like Luke Skywalker in the Knowledge Graph API, and it'll tell you all the times they've heard of Luke Skywalker. One of those was I was thinking of Darth Vader.
Okay.
Okay, because Dick Cheney.
Oh yeah. yes, that's right.
He was called Darth Vader by people in the DC area.
Okay.
And Google's Knowledge Graph API told us that was one of the results for Darth Vader, Dick Cheney. Yeah. If you search for Google on the Google API, they showed Topeka, Kansas as one result.
Oh, that's
Topeka, Kansas renamed itself to Google, Kansas to try to get Google Fiber.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They did it for a day.
Yeah.
It got Google's attention. Google started Google Fiber in Kansas City.
That's a good PR strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So work with clients. I show them if they're listed in the Google Knowledge Graph API, what it says about their name if they're not listed but somebody else is.
Yep.
Which happens.
Yeah, and how do you find it impacting your strategy? Because I don't really know anybody in my network who really focuses on the knowledge graph as a part of their strategy. So it'd be great to hear about your experience or just what you've seen by implementing that as a part of the strategy.
If you're in the knowledge graph, Google will show a knowledge panel
Okay.
for you. So you like look my name up in Google,
Yeah.
and you'll get a knowledge graph from me.
Yeah.
It'll show links to my Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn, and Pinterest accounts.
Yeah.
So you get additional links, so you get more visibility in
Yeah.
search results
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily ranked like position 1 through 10. It's like a position 0,
Oh
like
yes.
featured snippet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's a block. It's maybe got pictures of you.
Yeah.
If you're a business, it might have your contact information, your address, your phone number,
Yes.
who your CEO is. If you're listed in Wikipedia,
Yes.
they might have a snippet of information about your company.
Yes.
Having a knowledge graph also, if there are reviews about your business,
Mm-hmm.
they might list semantic, sentiment-based snippets from those reviews in the knowledge graph.
Okay.
So, best hamburgers in town.
Yep.
If you're a restaurant, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's good getting that type of press
Yeah.
for free.
Yeah. Do you typically find that it's a quick win or like medium term or long term?
Often the effort involved to get a knowledge graph like that
Yeah.
might be to register, verify your business in Google My Business,
Yeah.
or create a Wikipedia entry.
Yes.
And doing both those could result in a longer knowledge graph
Yeah.
or knowledge panel.
Yeah.
It's, I think, helpful having that information show up. People
I
seem
agree.
to like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like also like just going back to a marketing point of view.
Yeah.
Like one of the things that really helps to give customers confidence and to minimize the risk is how credible the company is. So anything that can help to enhance that credibility
Right.
will add value. Yeah. So
Working with a client right now who's a nationwide insurance company.
okay.
And when you search for the name, a knowledge panel shows up. If you search for a name and one of the places where they have an office,
Yes.
a knowledge panel for one of their agents shows up.
That's really interesting.
And it shows you the agent's name, the agent's email address, and phone number.
That's pretty
Uh,
amazing.
well, it's helpful because if you're going to get clients and somebody near one of your agents looks up your company and they see that information,
Hmm.
you stand a good chance of securing a client that way.
Yeah. So I just want to ask you a couple of questions just based on that because I think that's really mind blowing what you just said to me.
Yeah.
So with agents, agents want to get as many customers as possible, and trying to
Yeah.
break the trust factor. Trying to earn the trust factor with potential clients tends to be quite challenging. So I'm assuming that by getting those knowledge graph results, showing up with the agents, that's a great win for the agent, and they're probably gonna get more inbound leads and a better quality type of customer. Is that something you've found, or you might have heard back from your client in terms of the feedback?
In that instance, it's beneficial to the client as business overall that their agent
Hmm.
is showing up. because that humanizes the company.
Yes.
They get to see a real person representing the company and a phone number for them,
Yeah.
and they can reach out and talk to them.
Like what you've just said, it's really, really, really interesting. Uh, yeah, because the whole humanizing the business, like it just like breaks down barriers, and
Yeah.
it should make it easier for the people to conduct business. Like I know as a part of some of my strategies, I normally advise clients to create videos, so then people can see exactly who it is they're talking with, and to answer any questions that the people might have before they engage in the next step of the sales cycle. And I find that works really well. But I've not used that in a knowledge graph. So, but I can see the potential of how that can work.
You can see the value of doing that.
Yes, I can. Yeah, so it would be really interesting to see how that works, and I can also see how it would work with companies that are nationwide or international. Uh, like for any business that's really scaling. I was speaking with another SEO, John Doherty. I'm not sure if
Hmm.
you know him, but he was telling me that he focuses on enterprise level SEO. So they make a few changes and then they'll end up getting like a few extra million visitors or a few million inquiries. And yeah, I think a lot of the e-commerce sites might not have implemented that type of knowledge graph strategy into their SEO strategy, but then I can see how that could potentially work uh, if it can fit into the strategy in the right way. So it's just really interesting that you've been able to bring that up.
One of the things I've done with e-commerce sites with knowledge graphs
Yeah.
that they seem to find value in is having reviews show up in those knowledge graphs.
Yes.
And sometimes, as a nationwide type business, you
Hmm.
might not think to register with the Google My Business.
Yes.
But if you register as an area of service business
Hmm.
where you don't put an actual location, you get the knowledge graph that has reviews in it.
Okay.
So you can see reviews of the business in that knowledge graph, which may lead to more business.
Yes. Yeah. There's also the importance of people actually delivering a good service or a good product.
Right.
There's a small client I was working with probably about a month ago, and one of the things that really struck me about his company, and I really loved working with him for, was he kept on getting 5-star reviews. He focused on delivering an exceptional job, so he got all these amazing reviews, and if I could drive the traffic to the site, people would go with him. Like he was showing up a little bit in the knowledge graph, but it wasn't something that I was focusing on. We were doing a lot of Facebook ads for him at the time as well because a lot of his customers were leaving reviews on Facebook, but
Yeah.
uh, and he wasn't ranking on Google because he was a brand new site. But long term, if he was able to include that, then
So
he
if
would.
you had a chance to go back,
Yeah.
you would try to get him to have a knowledge graph?
He did have he did have the knowledge graph, but only just with Google My Business, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then the rest of his reviews were on Facebook. So then I wanted him to have a strategy where he would get the reviews onto Google or onto the other platforms. And then what I should have done in hindsight is looked into the other like knowledge graph sources, and then
Yeah.
and then get that pulled in. So like that's one thing that I did overlook, but also like he wasn't really getting any traffic from Google, and we were focusing on traffic from other sources and building up the content and the relevancy of his site to become an authority. So I think in hindsight, if I had focused on that as probably the midterm strategy, that probably would have
Yeah.
worked better. Uh, yeah, but it's just really good that like you've brought that up, and it's just reinforced the importance of it because sometimes there's so many things to work on. It's very easy to overlook like one thing that you might not think is a priority when it actually is.
And that's why I said I was looking at the patents to learn about things like that.
Yeah, like just a little bit about the type of clients you work with. Do you tend to work with like enterprise level or like niche specific? If you could just give us some insight into the type of like client work that you do.
I work with a range of clients of different types.
Okay.
Interestingly, oddly, a lot of sites we work with are WordPress-based sites.
Yeah.
They're not all WordPress, but a lot of them. We work with some e-commerce sites that are on WordPress, some
Okay.
consumer to business or business to consumer
Yeah.
sites. Uh,
And would the sites typically be like very large sites, like let's say with the e-commerce sites with a lot of traffic, or do you find that they're more like niche specific sites?
some sites are fairly large. We work with some smaller businesses too, some professional services like attorneys and
Yeah.
doctors and dentists and so on. So it's a range. I did an audit for a site that had 100,000 URLs last week.
Wow.
So some sites are a little bit bigger.
Yeah. And then like when you're looking at like some of those sites, like let's say the one with 100,000, like every different site will require a different type of SEO and web marketing strategy. So I just wanted to ask, how do you how do you look at, let's say, like a larger site, like 100,000 page site, and like how do you identify some of the quick wins versus some of the medium to long term wins based on what you see with the patents?
Okay, I have a good idea of how I want URLs structured in a site.
Yeah,
So I'll often start most audits of sites with screaming frog crawl
yeah,
to make sure that each page is ideally at one URL,
yeah,
each page of content.
yeah,
So you don't have, because I've run sites that sometimes have duplicated pages at HTTP and HTTPS
yes,
at www and non-www
yes,
domains.
yeah,
Yeah. So if you have a site that's like 30,000 URLs long
yes,
and they've only got 3,000 products,
mm-hmm.
you've probably got to get rid of some URLs.
Yeah,
You've probably got too many.
yeah,
And doing that means that you've got a lot more page rank per page.
yeah, yeah. So do you normally find the impact like after you do the fixes with some of those that the clients can see like some kind of quick win?
You know, it's not just that. Another client we had was a limo service,
Yeah,
and their primary business was providing corporate shuttles
yep,
to different businesses. They weren't actually doing too many limo pickups and drop-offs and so on.
mm-hmm.
We helped broaden the marketing of their company to include more actual limo services.
That's
So
good.
they started incorporating winery tours and
Mm.
brewery tours, personal holiday pickups, scheduling rides to concerts, things
Yeah.
like that.
Just,
So they broadened their market and broadened their business and increased business by like 57%.
that's amazing. Just out
Yeah.
of curiosity, was that were they able to expand that based on the insights that you were able to give them, like either through like keyword research or competitor analysis, like things like that?
Yeah, we were able to help them with that.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how your efforts can impact businesses and actually positively change the lives of others as well. Yeah. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it's nice when it happens too, because your clients enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, yeah, definitely in the bottom line.
Yeah,
Yes. So, Bill, I'm going to wrap up, but I really loved all the value that you were able to share with us on the show today. Like, really insightful stuff, and like I know that we could go and talk for hours. So just before we wrap up, could you just tell us like where people should find you and follow you, and if you might be appearing anywhere else, either online or in any upcoming events?
sure. Okay. Uh, I'm the director of SEO research for Go Fish Digital,
Hmm.
which is a Virginia-based firm, uh, and I do blog there a couple times, at least a couple times a week.
Mm.
A month.
Yeah,
Sorry. Uh, so it's gofishdigital.com.
yeah,
Uh, I do blog on my own website, SEO by the Sea.
yeah,
Uh, I try to get at least one new thing there every week.
yeah,
Uh, Sometimes a little bit more, but not always.
yeah,
Uh, I do a Google Hangout on air
yeah.
every Tuesday. It's Bill and Eamon's Bogus Hangout. I do that with Eamon Johns, who's an SEO from London,
Awesome.
uh, actually Swindon.
Oh, Swindon. Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
area.
Okay. Uh, and that's it's 8 o'clock in San Diego. I mean, it's 8 o'clock in England, and it's 12 noon in San Diego. So it's something that covers few time zones in a few hours.
That's pretty
Uh,
awesome.
it's pretty much conversation based. We don't have specific topics every week.
Hmm.
We talk about what's new, what types of things uh, we've been seeing. There are a few other people. Uh, Jennifer Slegg of the
Oh,
SEM Post
yes. I'm a
joins
fan.
us.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Jennifer Slegg as well.
Uh-huh. See, I said I'm going to be speaking at PubCon in November.
Excellent.
I have some pitches out to some other things, waiting to hear back.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Oh, and how about like Twitter or social media?
I am active on Twitter.
Okay. So everybody, make sure you follow Bill on his show. Follow him on his Google Hangouts every Tuesday. Follow him on Twitter. Subscribe to his blog, SEO by the Sea, and also check him out on Go Fish Digital. He's a man who's been doing incredible things in the space and just has already given the industry so much knowledge, and there's so much direction, and there's still so much more to come. So again, I really want to say thank you for being on the show, Bill, and I hope that I can invite you on next time. So thank you very much for participating.
Oh, you're welcome, David. Thank you.
Right.
Mhm.